All right, I thought I would chat with you guys and gals today a little bit about high rep finishers. This is something that I originally really got into when I was following a lot of the West Side barbell and conjugate stuff. And when we do these sort of things, I've never been a massive fan of people coming in and doing large amounts of high rep sets like this. But if we're going to pick sometimes a single exercise, and we're trying to do almost a prehab movement or something to really get an extreme pump or to get blood flow or to build tendons, these can be really, really valuable at the very end of a workout. And I used to like to do a lot of these for triceps, and I may start doing that again myself actually. But I just put some stuff up from the week that I'm filming this in that I've done in the last week. You guys will see me doing some sissy squats. You'll see me doing pullovers and reverse hypers. All right, these are perfect examples of exercises in which we can do this. And kind of your exercise selection, people say, well, can I do this with just any exercise? I'm going to say probably not. Not if we're talking this 30 plus rep stuff, because all this stuff is like between 30 and 60 reps being done in these videos. So what you're going to look for is, number one, is it an exercise that has some potential prehab effect? Okay, that's really high on the list, along with an exercise with a very low amount of fatigue. Okay, again, these are you want to pick exercises, especially on the fatigue one. When we're doing movements like this, you need to pick exercises that don't make you run out of cardiovascular stamina. In other words, a big movement to where you load a weight on top of yourself, this is not really ideal. So perfect examples, your squat, bench, and deadlift. Gonna go with no on those, right? Now notice, for the record, these are all very similar movements in terms of muscle use to those big three. Okay, think about that for a moment. Okay, instead of a back squat, we're doing a sissy squat. Pull over instead of a bench. It still works chest and triceps as the primary movers. A reverse hyper, same primary movers as a deadlift. It's your whole posterior chain. It's still a hip hinge. Okay, but none of them really create an impact on the whole body. They're all somewhat isolation movements. Okay. So again, a squat, bench, deadlift, a pull-up really doesn't work. Any big movements where your body's moving through space like that, sissy squat being a little different, you don't want to do, because what's going to happen when you try to do the really high reps, it just turns into cardio. You're not going to get the same muscular burn or connective tissue burn because your cardiovascular system will run out of steam. So not really optimal for our purposes. The other thing to think about, is it an exercise with a prehab benefit? Is it something that helps build a tendon? Does it help strengthen an area? All right, so perfect example, the reverse hyper. Could the same thing be applied with a banded good morning if you don't have a reverse hyper? Absolutely. Could the same thing be done with a banded pull through? Yeah, absolutely. Those would all be great examples of posterior chain and exercises that work the low back that get blood flow to that area. So movements like that, it makes a lot of sense. Again, working the erectors, because that is an area of the body that tends to get low blood flow, doesn't have a lot of capillary beds, has a lot of connective tissue. Really high reps tend to work tendons really well. That tends to get blood flow to tendons also. So those sort of movements, that's a perfect example of something that would be great to do that with. Why the pullover? Because of the effect on shoulder health, right? It's a great shoulder mobility exercise. It happens to work multiple big muscles, great for the whole upper body. It's one of those to where you can breathe really well. It tends to open up your breathing rather than restrict it. Okay, think about, people used to do it all the time between breathing squats. That was an old school training approach. They would do a 20 rep squat and then do a pullover afterwards. It helps open all of that up so your breathing doesn't get restricted. It actually can be enhanced during that movement because of the way it opens everything up, your airways. But it's great for shoulder prehab, shoulder mobility. Same thing could be done with a band pull apart. A lot of band stuff. Band stuff works great for these sort of finishers. A band pull apart for the rear delts can help us. 2 of the rotator cuff muscles, because you have 4 of those. Like the infraspinatus is one of them that can really benefit from it. The posterior delts. Band press downs for the tendons in the elbows, right? Not only can it help build tricep, but it helps build tendons around the elbow. Helps great with tendonitis. So those are perfect examples of finishers we can do this way. Obviously that sissy squat works. If you're strong enough to do really high reps on it, you can do it on body weight. It's a good exercise for the knee tendons because it doesn't put a lot of load. We can't load it as heavy as a squat, and it puts those tendons into a good stretch position. Okay? Those are great examples. Exercises that have a prehab benefit that your cardiovascular system will not become the limiting factor most of the time, so that you can get in and get that deep muscle burn, right? You can create that deep metabolic fatigue. And so then we come into the question of what are the benefits? Well, obviously the tendon health is one. These are all exercises that can improve tendon health. And any sort of high rep setup like this can, like ultra high rep finishers. But the same thing for working a different energy system. It's been speculated by some experts out there that even though we know that all rep ranges can stimulate really good hypertrophy, and I tend to favor lower reps most of the time. I think they bring a lot to the table. But the downside to ultra high reps is that they can create too much fatigue if you aren't really careful. They may have their own hypertrophic benefits. So just as a way to finish and pump a muscle sometimes at the end of a workout, particularly maybe a muscle that lags sometimes, right? These sort of exercises can really shine. They can really shine because we are getting a potentially different pathway for hypertrophy. You're getting a ton of blood flow to the area, right? And that blood flow may facilitate better recovery. So that's also a big factor with these sort of finishers. Again, we're getting an additional training stimulus. You're possibly getting a different pathway that might have its own independent hypertrophy. And then we're just getting blood flow to those muscles. We're building capillary beds, building a vascular system in those muscles better, and getting blood to them to help them recover. So this is why high rep finishers can be valuable tools, and they're worth considering. Just don't go overboard with them. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.